Today I'm talking about 6 psychologically damaging things that parents say to their kids. I, of course, have never done this, and I'm betting you have, so that's why I'm here to teach you. No, I've actually said probably all of them and worse. Hey, I'm James Burnham, and today I am reacting to an article I found from actually I didn't find it at all. My team found and gave to me from Yahoo Finance. We got it right here. And it's called 6 Psychologically Damaging Things Parents Say to Their Kids Without Realizing It. I think I've said all 6. So I've really messed up my kids. Hopefully you said some of these. Hopefully you have said some of these things too. Because the truth is, as parents, we make mistakes all the time. We are bound to do it. And so the cool thing with this article is it gives you some ideas of how to respond or react in a different way. If you've said these things in the past, here's an alternative way to parent your kids and get the most out of them. And these are all really excellent things that they have identified because I've said them. And I'm betting, I know they were said to me, and I'm betting they were said to you, and maybe you've said them too, unless you have one of those rare parents that was so perfect. And you didn't, right? So here we go. The first thing they say is when you're talking to your kid and they're melting down, they dropped their ice cream or they tripped and, any little thing that's got them all in tears and they're just melting down and you're at the end of your rope, right? You don't say to them, it's not a big deal. I like this because what she does, the author of this article, Catherine Pearson, what she states is that when you do this, you separate this child from their emotions. You're telling them it's not okay to feel this way. And emotional intelligence is in a major deficit in the United States, actually throughout the world. And this is one of the reasons. We discount emotions in our children because we don't want to have to deal with them. They're frustrating. We got to get stuff done. We don't have time for this. That's what we're telling ourselves, right? But this is the moment that you get to tell your child that it's okay to feel this emotion, and you can teach them how to process, identify, and either let it go or handle the situation so that the emotion can be properly handled, right? And that's a trick. So it may be hard if you yourself are like most of us, 85 to 90% of us, that don't listen to our emotional state. We subvert those feelings. And we tell ourselves, it's not a big deal. I'll keep going. How are you doing today? Good. And yet you're about to die, right? That's what we do. That's how we live. And it starts here with our kids. So what you do, as she states, is sit down with them. Don't diminish their feelings. Ask them, why is it that you're responding this way? Figure it out. Have them identify it. Then help them. Okay, so this is something, you dropped your ice cream. That's frustrating. I can understand why that's frustrating. Do you feel frustrated? Yes, I feel frustrated. Okay, so what can we do about it? Can we solve it? Or can we do something else to get our minds off of this tragedy of losing this ice cream, right? And then you teach them how to recognize, yes, I'm frustrated. Yes, this is something that I wish hadn't happened. And no, I don't need to just sit here and cry the rest of the day. I can acknowledge the frustration, I can deal with the intensity of the emotion, and I can move beyond it. And that gets the kid to a point where eventually their ice cream falls, they're like, damn it! Okay, and keep going, right? But when you beat a kid down in the space where they're first feeling the pain of that emotion, and then they can't move on, well, that kid's gonna just ignore that emotion in the future. And that will then bleed into their life in frustration, mounting anger, stress, right? That's what happens. That's the nature of our society. There's another one I really like here, and she saying, you should know better. When your kid messes up, oh my goodness, I am so ashamed, you should know better. This is a shaming tactic. We use this all the time in every aspect of our lives. It is, in my opinion, an epidemic. Shame is an epidemic that we use to try to control people. And when you say to your child, you should know better when they've moved up, what you're doing is you're calling them stupid. You stupid little shit, right? That's basically what you're saying. It's a nice way of saying it, but it hits the same for that kid. And you have now shamed them because How could you possibly be so dumb that you would do this? You should know, I've taught you better than this, right? You're making them feel like they're incapable. So how does a child that feels incapable and stupid approach a problem where they clearly messed up? Clearly they didn't know better because they just did that thing, right? How do you handle a kid and help them when you're putting them really on the defensive? They don't want to be near you. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to look at it because they're so ashamed and so embarrassed. Versus if you come to that kid and say, wow, we've got ourselves a problem here. Look what happened. How are we going to figure this out? Come here. Let's sit down and figure out why this happened. And let's figure out how we make it so we don't have this coming into our lives again, because this is a problem. Now you're on their team. Now you're helping them create a solution to the problem they're in. And this can be so hard to do. As parents, we're inundated with our own issues. We got work, we got all kinds of stuff. The frustration that can happen when you know you've taught this child the things and the tools they need to face a situation like they've faced, and they made the wrong choice. And you're just like, damn it, right? And sometimes when it's something bad enough, maybe you even feel a little bit of social shame yourself, thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want people to know that my kids did this. I was sitting at the restaurant the other day with some friends, and they told me about their daughter who had gone out with some friends. She's 16, and she'd gone out with some of her friends, and they went and they bought some pot, and they had bought a thing of alcohol. I don't know how they got it. Maybe they had some old friends, but they got some stuff, like 16-year-old kids do. I had tons of friends do this when I was in high school. And then when they're driving home, and the girl that was driving, the 16-year-old girl, she had not taken any of the alcohol, nor had she smoked any of the weed because she was driving, which was a good choice, right? She made the right choice. And they got pulled over by a cop. And the cop asked this girl, do you have any drugs or alcohol in the car? And this little girl looks at the police officer and she says, yes, officer, I do. There's marijuana right here and there's a bottle in the back. They all got ticketed because the marijuana was illegal. And the police officer actually let this girl go home and took the other girls that were hiding and lying and being belligerent to the station. And my friend is telling me this, and honestly, I burst out laughing when I heard this story. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what happened to you with your kid? She got busted driving home, getting weed and alcohol, right? All I pictured was my high school days with my friends and the things and the shenanigans that we were doing. I used to actually buy the alcohol for my friends. I didn't drink in high school, but my friends did. And since I didn't and I wasn't scared, I'd walk into the bar. I was in Canada, so at the age of 19, you can buy alcohol. So when I was in high school, I looked like I was 19, and I could often buy alcohol for my friends without any ID check. And I would do that, and they'd get drunk, and this is what it reminded me of. And I was just laughing, just thinking, oh, this little girl. But the cool thing was that I recognized, not her dad, I mean, her dad did too, but as a person listening, I recognized the ownership that this girl took. In the moment of crisis, when the officer confronted her, she owned her mistake. She fessed up. And to me, that's a win. Okay, your kid screwed up. They made a mistake. But when confronted with that mistake, they owned it. And so, as a parent, for you to say, you should know better than that, when your kid, yes, they made a mistake, but they owned the mistake, that's the time to come in and say, okay, see if you own, that's the time to come in and say, okay, I see that you have owned this. And so now I'm going to help you figure out how to get out of this. Not to avoid the punishment, not to avoid the consequences that are coming, but to support them in facing the consequences. That's what you do. And then your kid knows, man, you're in my corner, and your kid knows that even when they make a mistake, they have the opportunity to own that and course correct quickly. Anyway, that was the story I thought of when I saw this. I thought it was really cool. So I got time for one more. Let's talk about one more. So if you are looking at this article. If you find it on Yahoo Finance, it's kind of cool. But this is one that I have said, and I wish I hadn't, and I wish I'd read this. It says, "You make me sad when you do that." And I've said that to my children, and that is not true. My children can't make me sad. Nobody can make you anything. We are in control of our emotions. And so for us to say, hey, you make me sad when you do that, that's a huge burden. Now that child feels like they're responsible for my emotional state. No child should be responsible for the emotional state of anyone, let alone their parents. Nor are they responsible for, nor am I responsible for their emotional state. And they need to learn that, right? But what she says is, you set a boundary. I'm just looking at it. Would you rather play quietly here or go outside, right? You give them something that allows them to know, hey, there's a boundary here. I don't want you to cross this. And when they do, you can say, I feel sad. That made me feel sad. It's not you made me sad, right? But even better than that, don't even get emotional about it, right? If it's something that's like, this is the problem, right? You got a kid messing up a room. Oh, you made me so sad. I cleaned this room up today. Now you made me sad. Are you serious? Are you serious? A kid's mess is going to make you sad? Don't lay that on your kid, right? Now, if your kid murders somebody, they still didn't make you sad. You are sad because of what you're seeing in that child's life, and that's your choice. You could choose to celebrate that if you hated the child, right? So you get to choose that. You don't ever blame somebody. And what you do is you say to them, hey, guys, I told you, you don't get to mess up this room. I just cleaned it up. So now you're going to clean this room up, and we can find out another place for you to go play that's not going to mess this area up. Okay? Right? You solve the problems. Get in with them. Rather than be a parent that is top down, defining and controlling, get in the pit with them. Coach them. Love them. Let them know, I'm in this with you. I'm going to help you solve this problem. I am the base foundation upon which you can stand when you are in trouble. And this can be easy to do when you are facing something significant. Right? I think a lot of parents, when the shit hits the fan and that kid's in real trouble, you're going to stand up and you're going to help your kid and you're going to make sure that that kid's supported and gets through this, and you're going to outpour love and let them feel it because it's so dramatic that they need you, and you rise to that occasion. I've seen parents do that all the time. My own parents did that for me. The problem is we hyper-focus on these small things, and we add on huge heaping things like, you make me feel bad, or how could you do that? The shaming, the disparagement for these small things, so that when your kid does something big, there's no way they're coming to you for the big thing, because they don't believe you'll stand with them, because you have not stood with them in the small, right? Don't waste your bullets shaming a kid in the small to keep them away from the big. If you do that, that's what leads them to the big problems, because they begin to hide everything from you. I know this because I was one of those kids. I would come home from a friend's hangout, and if I was 5 minutes late, my punishment was it was exactly the same kind of punishment I was going to get if I came in the following morning. And I, several times when driving home, realized I'm going to be late. And I'd say to my friends, hey, let's go back out, man. I got the whole night ahead of me. Because I was not going to receive the level of punishment that I knew was coming without actually earning it. In my mind, that's how I saw it. So, join your kids. Don't overreact on the small things. Calm yourself down. Don't lay anything on them. Solve the problem with them. Solve their emotions with them. Help them discover. Help them build and learn. If you can stay in that coach mindset with your kid and love them, man, that kid's going to be way better off. And then when you screw up and you say some of these things on this list, because you will, or others that are worse, Offer yourself the compassion that you need to solve that problem, and when you meet it the next time, meet it better than you did today. I'm James Burnham. Thanks for joining me. Hope you like this video. I got another one coming up, ranking strangers by attractiveness. This will be a fun one. Stick around, like, subscribe, follow.